Good evening. In my ongoing research to learn more about soldiers who served during the Civil War, I came across three articles that caught my attention from the Project Muse database. The first article by Michael Panhorst is the first of our 100 battle monuments, Civil War battlefield monuments built by active duty soldiers during the Civil War. As the title indicates, Panhorst discusses some of the early monuments that Civil War soldiers erected, including Hazen Brigade Monument at Stones River National Battlefield, 1st Manassas Monument, Bartow Monument at Manassas, 2nd Manassas Monument at Groveton, Virginia, Stovall Monument at Manassas, 1st German 32nd Indiana Monument at the Cave Hill Cemetery, Louisville, Kentucky, Vicksburg Surrender Interview Site Monument, and the 43rd Wisconsin and 180th Ohio Volunteer Infantry Monument at Stones River. Panhorst relies heavily on 19th century newspapers, journals, diary entries, and excavational findings. He also includes many of his own personal photographs. Panhorst highlights how the wartime memorials represented the earliest efforts to commemorate Civil War combat and combatants and the earliest attempts to mark Civil War battlefields for posterity. Their history illuminates the sentiment of soldiers who memorialized their very recently fallen comrades in the heroic events of the war on the very ground where the historic actions occurred. According to Panhorst, the soldiers' sentiments and the manner in which they express them reveal much about the veterans, about Civil War-era American culture, and about why Civil War battlefields have become sacred grounds deserving preservation and interpretation. What I found to be most insightful in Panhorst's article is the description he provides of the ceremony in erecting the Bartow Monument. The ceremony was truly a community event that included music, a processional, a speech, and prayer, with a mix of cheers and tears. A second article by Christian Keller points out two groups of soldiers that many Americans look down on. He titles his article Flying Dutchman and Drunken Irishman, the Myths and Realities of Ethnic Civil War Soldiers. Keller uses official military records, census data, letters, memoirs, diaries, magazines, and newspapers to examine several of the myths and misconceptions surrounding the Germans and the Irish in the Union and Confederate armies and evaluates the truth, or lies, that lay behind them. One myth that Keller addresses is the myth of the drunken Irishman, which had traditionally gone together with the perception of the brave Irishman. According to Keller, many Irish soldiers enjoyed their whiskey, but were aware of their weakness and made efforts to alleviate it. Keller argues that more than a few Irish soldiers joined the Irish Brigade Temperance Association. Regardless of their reputation for drinking, and whether or not they deserve that reputation, Keller contends that Irish soldiers fought hard in most battles. Keller also recognizes the contributions of German Americans by countering the myth that German American soldiers were cowards. Many blamed the Germans of the 11th Army Corps for the terrible catastrophe at Chancellorsville. According to Keller, the view that Germans acted cowardly stuck with the Germans throughout the rest of the war, despite subsequent victories. The last article I read is Luring Canadian Soldiers into Union Lines During the War Between the Soldiers by Marguerite Hamer. Hamer uses manuscripts from the Public Archives of Canada, court depositions, and newspaper articles to argue that among the border problems which clouded Anglo-American relations during the Civil War period was the practice of luring soldiers into the United States for service in the Northern armies. As the Union increasingly experienced shortages in the ranks, many not wishing to serve sought exemption through substitution. Undrafted substitutes could sell their services for a bounty. Intermediary agents, known as crimps, came into existence to serve or to furnish the draftee with the desired substitute at a price which rose as the supply declined. American border states managed to enlist a considerable number of British-born soldiers. Hunter contends that the whole number of Canadians enlisted in American armies reached possibly 40,000 men. The Royal Canadian Rifles deserted to Detroit in ever-growing numbers. Where money was no lure, crimps enticed them with promotion in the Union armies, using strong drinks such as ginger beer and whiskey. Thank you very much.